But what's also interesting is that no one thought it was inherently racist or immoral to say we're going to keep the numbers low of people coming into the country. It's an entirely different conversation.
It's totally different. And look, I think I mean, maybe you disagree, but I think there is something that's arguably racist about promising people that the ethnic composition of the country won't change. But I don't think it's racist to say, we promise you that the numbers aren't going to change. In fact, it's consistent with a lot of progressive leaders from history, including civil rights leaders. I mean, the history of this is that Booker T. Washington and A. Philip Randolph and Samuel Gompers and Barbara Jordan, there's a long history of progressives who were most worried about the most vulnerable members of American society saying, look, we don't want to let in large amounts of immigration because basically it's going to create labor competition for our most vulnerable workers. So I have a quote here from Bernie Sanders that I think highlights the kind of progressive voice on immigration that is largely missing from the debate today. So it's important to say Bernie Sanders in recent years has had a whole bunch of progressive immigration positions, right? He says there need to be pathways to citizenship for people who are already here. He says we need to admit not just spouses of immigrants, but LGBT partners before same-sex marriage was legal, right? He's been against inhumane treatment of immigrants at the border. He also said this: there is a reason why Wall Street and all of corporate America likes immigration reform. And it is not, in my view, that they're staying up nights worrying about undocumented workers in this country. What I think they are interested in is seeing a process by which we can bring low-wage labor of all levels into this country to depress wages for Americans. And I strongly disagree with that. Bernie Sanders has basically stopped talking that way because you can't talk that way and be a national Democratic figure. But I think it's important to say that I think the left today has kind of imagined a free lunchism with immigration in which you can have massive immigration and it helps all the immigrants who come in and it doesn't hurt any Americans at all and everything's great. And I think the better way to think about it is the way Barbara Jordan, the former congresswoman from Texas, said, which is immigration is a really good thing and most good things are not free.
Right. And Barbara Jordan, of course, is a fascinating character in all this because she represents a very commonsensical view that in some ways that is now regarded as sort of toxic, even to say this, which is that, no, obviously as a government, our duty is first and foremost to American citizens before we admit anybody else.
Yes.
We are a nation that we have obligations to each other first before we have obligations to people who want to come in here. And that cohesion as a nation is what leads to immigration laws. And I do want to get to the point that, in fact, the other thing that was misrepresented, not only the volume, but the racial composition, which turned out to be so dramatically different than anything they agreed to, which created, which you may call a glorious achievement, or you can call a wonderful thing, but with huge unintended consequences, a country with a massively diverse racial mix, increasingly diverse cultural mix, in which what was understood to be American culture and what was intended to be American in the past has been completely blown away by massive immigration from all over the world. In fact, we even have policies to ensure that it comes from as wide a variety of countries as possible. There are quotas to get them from obscure places as if this is and what that does, and what we've seen that it does, is that it not only creates racism in America, because inevitably when people of different colors come into a country in large numbers, there always will be some sort of response to that. It also has declined social trust. It has made the kind of communal activities that the left used to believe in, the collective sense that we're all in this together, more tenuous because people don't identify with people of different races, different colors, different backgrounds in the same way they identify with people of themselves. Which is so you see in Sweden, for example, you see the archetypal left welfare state, which was set up with basically no immigration, completely homogeneous country. Now you've admitted all these immigrants into Sweden, you're seeing the consensus behind a welfare state collapse.
Yes.
And so that was another unintended consequence, that we would fray the sense of American citizenship, American nationality, what it means to be an American by creating a smorgasbord of every United Nations representative in America itself.